Go
How
for
do
it.
you feel emotionally as a man when MS Dhoni is coming out to bat at number 9? But I find it really entertaining that what we have in T20 cricket at the moment is either wickets or sixes. Like, for me, that's a really interesting form of the game.
It's funny coming from you, a serious cricket journalist, saying like cricket is only sixes or wickets, man.
Yeah.
Like imagine a Maxwell in the Indian ecosystem. I promise you wouldn't have survived more than a year or two.
I'm not sure how Maxwell survived in the Australian ecosystem, but that's a chat for another day. Because every year is a new year of inherited sadness, right? Like every year there's a new thing that just pulls at their heart. Morning, everyone. Welcome to the newest cricket podcast around. A chat about cricket from two sickos who just like to talk nonsense about the sport. I am Jarrod Kimber. The other sicko here is Robin Uthappa. And we have a new show, and we're going to be coming together as often as we can work it out with our schedules to talk about the sport. Robbie, look, let's not muck around here. Like, I don't want to stuff around or anything. This isn't a show for lightweights. All week, people have been contacting me and just saying, cricket is now too quick. T20 cricket is now too quick. My first question to you is, do you have a problem? Are people scoring too many runs? I don't know why I'm asking a batter this, but let's just assume you might have a batter's now scoring too many runs in T20 cricket.
Okay, first of all, I'm so happy we're doing this show, right? Because we finally have a freaking avenue to just voice our opinions, no holds bar, and let it rip, right? And I want to let it rip.
All right.
Yeah. So to answer your question, I genuinely, Kimber, I think it's a misnomer. To be very honest, if I have to speak about this from an IPL perspective, it's going to be super entertaining for viewers. It's going to be like, as far as viewership is concerned, it's going to be exhilarating to watch if you are someone who enjoys watching sixes and fours and a lot of runs being scored. I think we're going to breach 300 this year, just without a doubt. I think it's going to be either at Hyderabad, either at Mumbai, Kolkata, Bangalore or Delhi. One of these 5 venues, it's going to go. Because you're all small venues, good batting tracks since the last year. So I think one of these venues, 300 is going to be breached for sure, right? If I look at it from the serious side of stuff, if I look at it from a purely Indian cricket perspective, it's such a misnomer, man. Because it's going to be, it's like all the kids watching cricket, watching the IPL, which most kids do right now, they're going to think that this is how cricket's this is how cricket's supposed to be played, right? You're just supposed to go hell for leather from the word go and score as many runs as possible, right? They're not going to know how to bat in tough situations, because in an international game, in a competitive, like in a bilateral or an international game or an ICC tournament, you're going to have only 11 players. There's not going to be an extra batter there to cushion. To take the cushion for the aggression that's being showed from the first ball, right? You're not going to have that. And so in tough situations, people still are going hard. They've been asked by their teams to go hard. So for me, it's an absolute misnomer, and I think this will catch up with Indian cricket over the next few years. And it'll catch up in tough situations.
Won't someone think of the children? No, I like that. I like that take. I agree with you with the 300, man. I think we're going to see 300. Here's what I think, and I don't want to have a go at you, but you and your generation just knocking it around in the middle overs absolutely bored the crap out of me, right? Like, absolutely. I was just like, what is happening here? Now, I know some of this is the impact sub, but I just think batters understand now, and you know, we don't want to credit England cricket too much for anything that we say, but I do think that when England between 2015 and 2019 showed that you could score much quicker than we previously thought and without going out, I think batters have just started to work that out all around the world now, right? That you can score quicker. And I think for generations, if anything, T20 cricket was actually being won by the bowlers, right? The bowlers were keeping a lid on those scoring rates really, really well. And now the batters just understand what they can do. And, you know, there was one year where you came out, and I remember you were just smashing the ball everywhere, right? And you know, your strike rate went up massively. And I remember thinking at the time, this is the sort of stuff that I'm looking for. And it feels like everyone has been freed up. Well, everyone except for Hardik Pandya, but we'll come to him later. Everyone else has been freed up, right? Everyone else has been freed up. And I find it really enjoyable to watch. And I think the people who are really struggling with it are maybe the slightly older people who, and as you were saying before, who still know that occasionally these batters are going to have to get that high front elbow up and knock the ball around a little bit. But I find it really entertaining that what we have in T20 cricket at the moment is either wickets or sixes. Like, for me, that's a really interesting form of the game.
It's funny coming from you, a serious cricket journalist, saying that cricket is only sixes or wickets, man.
Yeah. You don't think? I mean, look, I get it. Like, don't get me wrong. There's two kinds of people in the world, right? There's basically cricket obsessives, right? Which we are both a part of. And then there's the person who flicks on the TV. And it's like, what are they going to remember? They're not going to remember the Sai Sudarshan on drive that we saw last night, which was one of the best shots I've seen played by a human being in a year, right?
Yeah.
They're going to remember the sluggy sixes or the clean bowls of Rohit Sharma and Rickleton, right? Like, they're going to remember that because that's how casual fans work things. And as you know, what's the IPL aimed at? It's not aimed at your uncle who's really seriously there going, oh, I don't know about this field placing at the moment. It's by the person who flicks on. It's like, wow, look how exciting that is.
Well, yeah, I would say yes and no, to be honest. As in, I think I still believe that there are enough cricket aficionados in the world who actually, want to see the nuances of the game, even in the shortest form of the game, right? And I think cricket has been been in an evolutionary process over the last decade. And I think it's evolved very, very quickly, Kimbo. I think it's evolved too quickly for a lot of people's liking. And I think it's just the way the world is at this point in time. Everything is like moving super digital and like super quickly. And we're seeing innovation within the sport in the same light. I think everything is happening very, very quickly. And I think for a lot of people, it's a lot to take, like say for an Ajinkya Rahane to shift and play the way he played since he went to CSK, that had to come from a place of security, because you have to understand where these players come from as well, right? As in, I think cricket is very, is very different in different diasporas. Like, I think in India, it's always going to be a game of, it's a place of immense talent, and talent's always going to be rich. But it's also going to be a highly competitive game. We're going to see a lot of rollover of players very, very quickly. I doubt very much if. I think a long career in Indian cricket, as far as international cricket is concerned, would be a 100-game career across white ball formats. Like, I don't think you'll see a 200-game ODI career anymore. I don't think you'll ever see a 300-game ODI career anymore. I think those days are gone by. I think they're done, right? To be very honest, I think we'll very soon perhaps see one-day cricket only happening at ICC level tournaments, like how football is. I think we're in that transition phase at this point in time. Having said that, I feel like Indian cricketers, the ecosystem that is set up, it's such an insecure ecosystem that everything is survival, right? And I think Ajinkya Rahane was able to create that kind of switch in his game because security was provided in a place like CSK. And now today he's in the captaincy, he's in the leadership role in a team where security is not an issue for him. So he's able to exercise that part of his game, which he probably wouldn't have been able to exercise 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. Right? A lot of these nuances they escape the general viewing public because they suddenly say, oh, Ajinkya Rahane is like playing aggressively today. There's a reason why he's playing aggressively today, right? And the ecosystem allows it for him to play aggressively. But not a lot of people can do that or can afford to do that. Today, it's afforded within the whole ecosystem because the IPL is set up in such a way because of the impact player, right? Now, the impact player kills the all-rounder role in international cricket for India. Luckily for now, we have good, solid all-rounders who cover that up. But say the Vijay Shankars of the world are going to get lost in this whole melee of stuff that's going on, right? He's a high-quality all-rounder, but say imagine a Vijay Shankar in an England ecosystem. He would thrive there for a long time, right? Like a proper all-rounder, can bowl 135 clicks, can bat, is not a muck with the bat at all, can hit the long ball, is improved in this game. Or Washington Sundar, for that matter, right?
He can't even get in the side.
You know what I mean? So that same player in a different ecosystem. Like, imagine a Maxwell in the Indian ecosystem. I promise you wouldn't have survived more than a year or two because you find so many of them.
I'm not sure how Maxwell survived in the Australian ecosystem, but that's a chat for another day because I think Cricket Australia has been trying to fight Maxwell every step of the way, all the way through. No, look, I think what you talked about before as well, the evolution, right? Like we
Yeah,
are at one of the most rapidly developing evolutions in men's cricket that we've ever had. We just went through
yeah.
15 years of women's cricket, where women's cricket went from basically an amateur sport to this incredible thing that it is now.
Mm,
And men's cricket has always had slow evolutionary movements. But what we're seeing
processes.
now is we're seeing it off the field and on the field at the same time, right? Like
Yeah,
we might see this 300 game at the same time that we've got Saudi Arabia swooping around the game. We might see it at the same time where we just had all these Indian owners buy these teams in England, and obviously me and Robbie are available for any work in any of these
yes, we
100
are.
sides if anyone needs it. But yeah, I think this is something we're going to keep talking about. I think there's so many fascinating things when it comes to scoring rates and how fans perceive it and everything else. But I think the Ajike Rahane is a perfect example of there are multiple different reasons why players start to score quickly. You know, Shikhar Dhawan was someone who would knock it around quite a bit in the IPL, and when his contract was up, suddenly he would explode, right? And then you've got the opposite player who sometimes needs, what they need more than anything else is to know they're going to be in the side for 10 games, right? And then they
Yeah.
can play the way that they're supposed to play. So I think there's many different aspects of that. But let's move on. All right, so my question to you is, I came in and I was pretty low on RCB, right? And
Mm,
I know, well, I was going to say I know you played for them. You played for everyone, so that doesn't matter. But
yeah.
um, I was pretty low on them. I think there's still some issues with their bowling, specifically if Hazelwood and Boovy don't take wickets early on. I'm not sure how they're ever going to be able to pull anyone back. But one
Yeah.
thing that I had downgraded in my thinking was Phil Salt, because he'd been batting pretty ordinarily for a couple of months. Phil Salt batting the way he bats in this team suddenly makes me upgrade this side quite a bit. And the fact that they've got away wins, I think is really interesting. So my question for you is,
Yeah.
are RCB better than we thought?
100%. I'm surprised you didn't think they were going to have a great season. I thought they were from the get go. As in, I was like, what the fuck are they doing in the auctions? Genuinely, they're like when that happened, I was like, the first day I was like, what the heck are these guys doing in these auctions, man? And then I was worried for them because for the fans, Kimbo, as in I've played for RCB. I've played against them. I felt let down by them. By the like because
Yeah, RCB is the only team that we both worked for,
oh,
right?
really? You work for them? I didn't know you work for them.
I had a glorious week working for them and never worked for them again. So I
I
haven't
want to
looked at
know
your
all about
stats, but
this.
I think out of the two of us, I was a lot worse. It's for another day. We're not going to go into it now. It's for another day. But
Okay.
there is like it's almost at this stage. I feel like Delhi have got away with being not winning a championship in a certain way, where Delhi fans are still like, okay, well maybe it will happen. Whereas RCB fans are so out of their own minds at the moment as an RCB fan, because it's like
Yeah.
every year is a new year of inherited sadness, right? Like
Yeah.
every year there's a
Man, I
new
feel
thing that
so
just
bad for them.
pulls at their heart.
Yeah, I feel really bad for them, to be very honest. As in, they've the kind of personnel that they've had. Like if we go through the kind of players that have come through for RCB and have gone by and then gone on to do crazy things in the IPL, you'd be like,
Yeah.
how have these guys not got it right? And like as cricketers, we know why they haven't gotten it right, right? You know why these things have not worked out for RCB. Um, and genuinely, for the fans' sake, I was like, come on, after 18 years, you want RCB to win once at least, right? Yes, you're gonna get a lot of crap thrown at you. Like I see it after any win, right? As in any after any win that RCB have, I have tweets saying, "Oh, your ass must be burning today." That RCB beat CSK at the Den, and all of it. And while I'm the one saying, hey, I want RCB to win finally, because your loyalties stay with team. Today, as a broadcaster, your loyalties stay with team for a year or so. Like as
Yeah.
I got out of cricket, it stayed with CSK for a year, and then you get into broadcasting and you realize you need to have a more neutral perspective. And then I've become completely neutral today. As in, I have love for the fans and I have love for the franchise, but as a broadcaster, I view the game very neutrally. And as a broadcaster, I felt like, man, the kind of efforts that the fans have put in for RCB and the kind of
Yeah.
heartbreaks they've been through, I'm like, I want them to win once for the fans. After that, I don't really like it. Like it's up to the franchises. Then I really
I
think they've
think
had a
I'm
great auction this year.
I,
Huh?
okay. So here's my issue. I don't mind their batting. I think if Salt comes off, I kind of like and I don't like their number 3 position perfectly because I want Patidar to bat at 4, right? But my issue is just that if they don't get new ball
You're saying you
wickets,
don't want
people are going to
Patidar
score.
to bat at 4?
No, I want him to bat at 4. I think they should have found a number 3 because I think he might be
But they
close
have
to the best
Padikkal
number
at 3.
4.
They
Yeah,
have
but
Padikkal at 3.
he
But that's
made.
the best
Do you
you
know
can
what
get.
Do you know what his average was last year? It was negative. He made negative
No.
runs last year. I had to change my stats because he was giving runs back. I know he made runs in the second game here, so I'm excited because I really like him as a player. If he comes off and Salt comes off, this is a completely different team to what I saw, because what they should be able to do is score about 15% more than par, right? And that actually brings the bad bowling attack back in. And if you have to go up against Boovy
They
and
don't have a
Hazelwood,
bad bowling attack,
they
dude.
do have a bad bowling
No,
attack.
they
Come
don't.
on.
Come on.
They have
like,
2
think about
bowlers.
it.
They have a defensive bowling attack, which means you have to outscore everyone every game.
To the contrary, I actually think they have an aggressive bowling attack. I think in the first
What?
couple of overs, yes, genuinely. Like, think about it. Like, Bhuvi is going to swing the ball like on a flat batting track like Hyderabad. Look at his returns. Look at his numbers over the last
Yeah.
8 years. Right, he's got great numbers. If there's one person, I remember when you're playing for Pune Warriors, Sahara Pune Warriors. Bhuvi and I were on the same side for 3 years. Right, the only guy and consistently at Bangalore. The only guy who had good returns at Bangalore was Bhuvi. Even when even when Chris Gale scored 175 in that game in Bangalore, you know what Bhuvi's returns are? 4 overs, 24 runs. The
Look,
only guy who went at
I'm
6 runs in
boofy
over.
pilled. I'm boofy pilled. You don't need to tell me how good the man is. Like, I've written
for me, I think he's
odes to him.
if I think there's any bowler who would be great for RCB, and from the get-go, I've always said it should be Bhuvi. They should get Bhuvi. The fact that they have someone like Bhuvi and someone as disciplined as Josh Hazelwood they're so complementing to each other, man.
Yeah.
They are so complementing. Like, he'll come and swing the ball with a new ball. Bhuvi, the first over, he'll put pressure. He won't let the batters get away because everyone's going to be susceptible and kind of like wary of Bhuvi in that first over because of the amount of swing he gets, right? Yes, he's 34, 35 right now. Maybe the pace has dropped off 5 clicks. But with that means the ball's going to swing a lot more. And people think and people today are not used to playing swing bowling, Kimbo. Like, think about it.
That I agree with. Yeah.
They're struggling with swing bowling right now because they're okay with seam, but swing not so much. So with swing, he gets a little bit of seam, he's in the game. And because of that, batsmen are going to be defensive to him. And on the other hand, someone as disciplined as Josh Hazelwood, what are they going to do? They're going to try and take him hard. He's going to hit hard lengths. He's getting the ball to skid off the deck. And suddenly, he gets a wicket. Bhuvi may not get wickets up front. He will eventually. But if he doesn't get wickets, he'll put pressure on so that Hazelwood gets wickets. Because of the way cricket's played now, I think it's going to be like a double-edged sword that every team that will come up against RCB are going to have to contend with. So which is what makes them so dangerous as a pair.
That's what you basically said what I said, which is they have these 2 very good bowlers. Who's their 3rd best bowler? I even give it to... Okay, who's their most likely to take another wicket? Like, do you know what I mean? There is a step down if they need wickets in the middle, or I'm a big Krunal Pandya fan. Like, I think he's massively underrated by IPL fans, but he doesn't get wickets, right? Like, that hasn't been his role. So if those 2 don't take early wickets, I think you can really get on top of this side. And I mean, as you said before, age is this isn't prime Bhuvi, right? Sunrisers had prime Bhuvi, right? So
yeah.
I've got a question, but if you like him, you like him. That's all right. Look, they've certainly done a lot better than I thought they were going to do. So, well done to them. And as you said, for me, it is about the fans because you watch the way the fans supported the women's side, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, this is a proper fan base, right? It might, it's such a good fan base, and they get behind it. So I am hoping I am wrong, and they're a better side. But we both know what's going to happen is we're both going to get excited for this side, and they're going to find a way to lose.
No, man. I have a feeling about them this year. I'll tell you why. Because of Rajat Patidar. His leadership in the last couple of games have been fucking unbelievable, bro. It has been so good. what I love about him is his proactiveness and the calmness in which he exercises his proactiveness. It's so cool to see a youngster, like not a youngster, but like someone who's doing it for the first time at the
Yeah.
IPL stage, to exercise the level of like just calm that he has exercised, right? Like not reactive, trusting the processes. The fact that he brought Suyash back into the attack when Andre Russell came into bat, when he knew that Suyash will is already given 40 runs in 3 overs, and he said, "I picked you to get this guy out. I need you to do it for me." To exercise that level of faith in your first game as a captain, when your bowler has gone away for 40 runs in 3 overs, tells you have character. For me, that defines that you've got character. And the way he's batting, right? He's not taking pressure about being the captain. He's going there and exercising his role as a batter, and his role is to take the bowlers to the cleaners and to be aggressive with them. And he's doing it with such panache, man. He's doing it so well, which is why I think RCB, for me, have a greater chance of going beyond the playoffs this season.
Yeah, well, they won't. Obviously, they'll do something wrong. But at the moment, let's believe. I mean, if there's anything RCB fans can do, it's believe in the face of facts and logic and everything else. Let's talk about another team who I'm trying to remember what we were calling them last year. I can't remember if we were calling it the clown car of the IPL last year or if it was a worse nickname. But Punjab Kings, I looked at their team on paper this year, right? And I was like, this looks like a proper team to me. And the minute I said that, the internet just collapsed on me. Just go, what are you talking about? They can't be good. Are you with me? I know they've only played one game. I don't want to get too over-indexed on one game. But Shreyas Iyer looks like he's finally found that level that at KKR, like sometimes at KKR, they're batting him at like 8, right? Because they were like, he's not going to play the way we want. He looks to me like he's finally understood the assignment and he's caught up and he's so skillful. And the rest of the team, I really like it. Like they can cause, I don't know if they can win the title, but they can cause a lot of teams a lot of problems here.
I think we probably, and I'm saying this with, again, with a pinch of salt, knowing the Punjab ownership, I think they finally hit their final reset. I don't think we'll see, because the quality of players they have in their ranks right now, they are sorted for the next 5 years, even with just the current set of players, right? They don't need to do much, to be honest, over the next 3 auctions with the kind of side they actually have. And for me, I think that is something that is commendable. And you got to give credit to Ricky Ponting for it. Yes, he's always going to be a little bit more skewed towards the Aussie players. He's going to make it a little Aussie heavy. And that generally has been the case in the IPL with Aussie coaches and, Aussie captains. And we've seen the same trend here. But I still believe that, and I've always maintained this, I think Shreyas Iyer is a very underrated cricketer, and I think a very underrated leader. Right, I think he's a phenomenal leader. I've been saying that this guy is going to lead the Indian team for I think the last year and a half. I've been saying this dude is underrated out and out. Right, he should have he is for me. Did he get the man of the series in the Champions Trophy? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, but if he didn't, he should have gotten it because no, I don't think he got it. I think Rachin Ravindra got it. That's right. Rachin got it. But I think yeah. I know. Well, I know only because I was doing work there at the stadium. But he was phenomenal, man. And I think he's a very, very good leader, very astute. He's very clear. And what I like about him, he's actually thought adjacent, right? He's got his own method of doing his things, right? When people said, "Oh, listen, you've got a clear issue with the short ball," he's like, "What? Are you dreaming? I have no issue with the short ball." And I'm like, what is the guy saying? Right. And I'm very observant about what people say. I'm like, what is this guy saying? And then you look at it and he's gone and he's worked it out.
Yeah.
And he's actually gone and worked it out. Like if you see that 97 not out in the last game, he's pummeled guys for sixes with a short ball. Yeah. And on the quickest, I would say the quickest red soil wicket in the country at the moment in India, he's gone and pummeled guys who bowl pace, right? Prasidh Krishna, Mohammad Shami. He's actually gone and smashed these guys over deep mid wicket. Like to actually hit a pull shot off the front foot towards deep mid wicket at a short ball coming at pace means your reflexes have to be on point, right? And if he's doing that consistently, then you know that And he's only trying to pull off the front foot. He's not trying to pull off the back foot. Even the hook, he's trying to play off the front foot. So that means he's actually, you will see a lack of control when you're trying to hook off the front foot. But when you're pulling off the front foot and you're hitting in front of square, that means you're dominating. You're ahead of the pace of the ball. You're dictating the shots. They're dictating the ball at this point in time. So for me, as a batter, incredible batter, he will decimate spin bowlers. I'm telling you, we have the same batting coach. Like he coaches under, like he trains under Praveen Amre, and I'm telling you, the amount of work Praveen Amre does against spin bowlers is tremendous. We do a lot of work for spin bowlers and how to attack spin bowlers, and you know that he's going to decimate spin bowling. Like even at the time when in 2017, 2018, when I was playing for KKR in the middle overs, I was taking the spin bowlers on, was simply because the amount of work I did towards spin bowling. Like we would play on ranked turners, trying to hit sixes without stepping out. And we'd practice that, and we'd figured out ways to do that. That when you came to the IPL and people are bowling at pace, it felt like, hey, this is just hit through the line, man. This is easy stuff. It just became so easy because our practice became so difficult. So I know that as a batter, he's going to thrive. And as a leader, just the amount of championships he's won and the way he's led. And he doesn't want the attention. As a leader, he doesn't want to be the guy winning or being in the limelight for winning. He just wants to win. He's happy to win. He's happy to, like just what he did with Shashank Singh in that last over when he's batting on 97. Man, imagine an Indian cricketer doing that over the last decade, dude.
It's one of those things that I always think that of all the bad things England gave different countries around the world, one of them was that for whatever reason, Australia decided to play cricket as a team sport, right? And England told everyone else to play cricket for themselves. I'm writing a book at the moment, and Barry Richards is talking in the book about how much he hated playing in county cricket because the first game was against the universities, and all these average batters would go out there and make 100 so that their records would look good at the end of the year. And then he said, you play during the year, and everyone's playing for not outs every game to make sure that the average is above 35 or 40 so they get a contract. And you watch Australian cricketers like just be like, oh, it doesn't matter if I average 20 as long as the team wins, right? Like it's such a different version. And so you watch someone like Shreyas Iyer, I think so many things are coming together for him at the same time. So you've got the ability to make a 97 and not give a shit, right? Like that's such a huge thing. The short ball that you talked about before, I think people think you need to be good against a short ball. What you and I know is you just need to make sure that you can be occasionally dangerous so they can't keep bowling it to you because you can score so quickly off it. And the final thing you said is the player against spin. He might be the best player against spin in the world, right? Like he only needs to be average against pace bowling and he'll be such a star. So no, I'm a huge fan, man. I like the team. I did briefly work for the ownership once, way back in the day on a league that never even ended up existing. I'll reserve my judgment on how they manage everything based on that. But I'm with you. I like the all-round stuff. I like the way that the team sort of comes together. And if this is the Shreyas Iyer we get, if it's the Shreyas Iyer who's willing to score quickly and punish people, right, with that batting lineup and all the all-round options that they have available to them, they're so flexible. Right, like during the season, they can completely change the sort of team they are. So no, I'm all in. All right, yeah, this one's a little bit different for you. How do you feel emotionally as a man when MS Dhoni is coming out to bat at number 9?
Frustrated, fucking frustrated. Oh, what the fuck's going on, dude? Like, why? Are
you want him to be lower? That's what you said off there. You said to me off there, can he bat at 10 or 11? That's what I heard.
Might as well have. He might as well have. It wouldn't have made a difference. Like it just like I would say befuddlement is too weak a term. And like what the heck? Like what is the thinking? Because you know you're not going to win the game. By the time he's coming to bat, or by the time Ashwin's coming to bat, you know that you have less than a slim chance of winning the game. Yeah. The only thing that you can give yourself the best chance to do is reduce that net run rate. Because the margins in the IPL are so slim at the back end that you really want to keep your net run rate as much in the positive as possible, right?
Mate, when I worked for cricket teams, that was the thing that I kept saying to players, because no one cares about net run rate to the end of the year. And I was like, if you don't care about it until the end of the year, you have to rely on luck to have a good net run rate.
Yeah. And it doesn't work, right? And for me, what confuses me is that someone like MS knows this stuff, right? So there must be some form of thought behind this, because what is the reason for him to bat at number 9? It's been 2 days and I'm trying to wrap my head around it. I still haven't been able to wrap my head around it. I can't understand because I know MS, right? I mean, he's a friend, and I know how he thinks. He's a like for me. I don't know if this is a team decision or I don't know if this is an individual decision because he also kind of has a say there in the side. So we don't know where it comes from. And if it's from him, I'm very fascinated. I want to know what the thinking is. I'd love to know what the thinking is.
Is it possible that just early in the year, he hasn't been playing a lot of cricket, that he's just like, by the end of the year, I can come in at any position and smash the ball everywhere, but I might need a couple of extra games to, get myself prepared? I mean, it doesn't really make sense, but is that a possible way of looking at it?
See, one of the things I've always observed with Mahi is how does he run between the wickets when he comes in a bat, right? It tells you a lot about his fitness, right? Because as he's aged, one of the issues he's had is keeping is never an issue, right? But running has become an issue because one of his knee, and then he had a surgery on the knee. But because of his knee and how he is managing his knee, his calf was taking a big load on what was going on.
He's always been fast, but he's not built like a him and Johnny Bairstow are not built like normal sort of fast runners, if you know what I mean. They've got like a lot of thick legs and thick thighs and everything. And what generally happens with people with like big asses and thick thighs and legs is you run a lot in your life, but your knee joints eventually go or your ankles go, right? Like,
yeah.
And then you pick up the old man injury of calf injury, right? Like you start to pick up those little things. And also I find now when I play cricket, my biggest problem is running between the wickets because I still think I'm 15 and I hit the ball into the covers and I take off first ball and then I limp the rest of the game with a sore hamstring. Like you forget that it takes a little bit longer for your machine to get going, right?
It does. And which is what confuses me because the asking rate was so high in the 15th over and 13th, 14th over, I should have there's no way MS is going to come below number 8 because at number 8 you still felt like, okay, I want the other guys to take the chunk of the workload. So if push comes to shove, I'm going to be there, right? Here push came to shove and then went some more as well and still he hadn't turned up. And then you're wondering what's the thinking behind this because it doesn't augur well for CSK. And I think CSK have missed a trick this year, right? With all due respect to Deepak Hooda and Rahul Tripathi, and I think they're phenomenal players, right? But if by 30, if you haven't won an IPL championship, then you're going to say, okay, you know what? How much are they going to deliver for you? Because you're a championship contending side. You want guys who have at least experienced winning a championship to know what it takes to be able to get there, right? And I truly hope for CSK's sake, Rahul and Huda come off. But honestly, if I had a say in the whole thing, I would actually have blood in an Andre Siddharth and a Sheikh Rashid. Sheikh Rashid has been in the wings for a couple of years right now. The minute you give them games and you say, okay, we're in a reconstruction stage, we're in a rebuilding phase of our franchise right now. Over the next year or two, what then happens is you're giving these guys a go to develop them to serve you for the next 10 years, which they can, right? But unless you blood them in, you will never know if they're worth their salt.
No, I get that. I won't have any Rahul Tripathi slander on this. This is the last time you're allowed to say anything negative about him.
I love Rahul Tripathi.
No, look, you've been warned.
Like, don't get me wrong. I love Rahul Tripathi. I love him. I genuinely like as a cricketer, as a team player, as just as a batter. I absolutely love him. One is I think
he was one of the guys who understood strike rate before anyone else did, right? And he would sacrifice his wicket, and he would go. Exactly. Look, we both know he's limited. He's not like a fully top level player, but he gives it his all. He really tries hard every game.
Another thing I don't understand is why is Ruturaj not opening the batting?
Yeah. It feels like Stephen Fleming's trying to catch up with like modern T20 cricket as it goes. One of the other few, I don't know, suddenly today I've worked with all these people, but I worked under Flem and he is for a T20 person, he's very conservative, right? Like he's very much that. So I think he's trying to catch up with what modern T20 cricket is because what CSK did back in the day is not going to work anymore, right? Like, oh,
No.
maybe we'll get 155 and we'll be able to defend it. It's like, that's so under par now. So I think the game has changed. But yeah, I'm very
Which is
interested.
why I think, he's talking also about the wicket at the press conferences. I think,
Yes.
he's talking about the wickets because it's not suiting their style of play at this point in time. They're not able to decipher how the wicket's going to play, and so I think that's why. I think in some ways you're right, and I don't think sending Rahul Tripathi up ahead of Ruturaj is a good idea. I think Rutu should open. Rahul will thrive at number three. He will still do that role for you. You need to get off to a good start. And today, even 9 runs and over, 10 runs and over is a good start. You don't have it's a great start, yeah. 60 for one, 55
Mm.
for one is a very good start in ODI in T20 cricket. And from there you can easily get to 200 if you have a decent middle order, right? And today the middle order is skimming thin right now as far as CSK is concerned. You're making someone bat in a position that he's not naturally batting at. Rutu doesn't bat at three. Rutu opens the batting everywhere, right? Let him open the batting. Rahul bats in the middle order everywhere. Let him bat in the middle order. Let him bat at number three, the top order. Then you have the Hoodas of the world come in.
Yeah. Huda, I am a little bit more concerned about. All right, let's move on. We've talked about a couple of teams now, but let's talk about Mumbai. So I sent you this message beforehand. I said, do we need to worry about Mumbai? So they're 0-2. Obviously, Bumrah's not there. I still think on paper, when Bumrah is available, looks like the best squad this year, but it doesn't matter. I think what we're seeing with their batting is just a bit of a form thing where no one's quite in the form that they need to be. And so it looks great on paper, but until someone starts to make some runs. I'm a huge fan of Rickleton. Rohit has been in form of recent times and then out of form again in recent times. They've got that incredible, Sky, Tilak Varma, combination there as well. But yesterday they fielded like they'd never seen a cricket ball before. Like it was bad, man. Like they were finding new ways to stuff up in the field regularly, especially early on when Gujarat weren't even going that quickly at that point. Then they have that horrible collapse in the middle. Hardik Pandya is at one stage was batting for his test match spot. Are you worried about Mumbai, or are you like, no, there's too much talent in that team to keep playing the way that they are?
Well, that is the case. But if you look at Mumbai and their runs in the IPL when they've won championships, they've always started very poorly, man. Kimbo, they've started so poorly in a lot of the championship winning seasons. They've started so poorly, right? So they're poor starters, which generally is the case, and they've lost 2 away games. I'm okay with away losses, which genuinely, when you break the IPL up as to how to win championships, you want to win 5 out of your 7 home games, and you want to win 3 to 4 of your away games. Between 16 and 18 points guarantees you a spot in the top 4. The minute you get to the top 4, it's another tournament altogether.
Yep.
And we've seen that with Mumbai. Mumbai have always kind of into the playoffs, like at the last minute, they've kind of edged their way in. And from there, it's like another side altogether. And suddenly they've had 2 blinders and then they've won a championship and all's forgotten about how they've started a tournament, right? I think maybe 3 out of their 5 championships have been in such cases. But they've also been a dominant force. They've also been one of the most innovative teams in the IPL. They've also been one of the teams that have given youngsters the most opportunities, discovered talent, not just for Mumbai, but for India, right? Jasprit Bumrah, the Pandya brothers, right? Yuzi Chahal, like to name some of the few cricketers, right? And I think they're a very innovative team. And I think they set a very high standard for themselves as far as performance is concerned. You can be sure as broad daylight that they will put pressure on their players to say, you know what, up it right now. We need to get this back. We need to bring this back, to status quo. And there will be long meetings, which generally is the case with Mumbai. They like their meetings. They have long meetings. They like discussing stuff, and they like working things out. And one thing that I didn't get, and if you've heard why they didn't play Vignesh, I'd love to know.
No, I don't know. I don't know. I think it's one of these things where we could get fascinated with the different players they are and aren't playing. And obviously they are trying some new players as well at the moment. But when it comes down to it, it really does look like a form thing. Like the players in the side are good enough to win those games. And so generally, if that's the case, I'm less worried. And as you said before, I don't think fans understand how much that sort of essentially what you said, that 5 out of 7 at home and winning 3 or 4 away is kind of the best way of doing it. If they lost the 2 games at home, I'd feel very, very differently. Yeah. And also, even if they go 0-3, this is a squad that probably can go on a streak of 5 or 6 wins in a row.
Yeah,
like it can
easily.
I think it can flip the other way, right? So I'm not quite ready to say that they're finished at the moment, but at the same stage, I don't think we can keep going, well, sometimes they start slow and then they win, because sometimes they start slow and then they suck ass. Do you know what I mean? It can go both ways. Like at a certain time, you do have to start winning, right? Like it's like if they're 0-4, you and I can't still be here going, yeah, but they start slow, everyone. It's coming.
Yeah.
Like they do have to win at a certain point. All right. There was something that happened.
My concerns is Rohit Sharma's form. What do you think of that? Like Rohit has been blowing hot and cold for Mumbai, more cold than hot, in IPL cricket for a while now.
What I don't understand about Rohit Sharma is like he made a decision in T20s and ODIs for India that he was going to be this big swinging dick, right? And he's going to come out, he's going to smash the ball, and he's going to show everyone how you have to attack. And he's completely changed their white ball cricket because of it, right? All you guys were taught to be anchors before, and now it's like, no, we're not anchors anymore. We're the dominant ones, right? We're going to be like this. And the minute he gets back to Mumbai, who is usually a really good side, he's like, oh, got to get on got to just push this one on the offside. No, just smash the ball, dude. If he makes 28 off 14 for Mumbai, they've got such a good batting lineup behind him. And you and I know, once Rohit Sharma starts going, teams absolutely crap their pants because they know that he could make 100 off 30 balls and completely change the game.
They are, and that's the thing, right? They shit bricks when he gets going, because they're like, this guy is like an unstoppable force, right? And for some reason, I just wondered, is it because he hasn't figured out where he lands in the whole ecosystem of Mumbai Indians post-captaincy, because he's done a lot for that franchise, right? And that can happen. It's a very existential thing. I think Virat Kohli went through that once he let go of captaincy, or when he was let go of as captain, and it moved on. I think it took a lot of soul searching, probably a couple of years of soul searching, which I think deeply affected his form as well, just to find out where he landed in that whole ecosystem again. Because you're still a senior. You're still, you don't know as a senior if you're in the leadership group anymore or not. But even if you're in the leadership group, where do you land in that whole structure?
It's also like, I remember when I was at St. Lucia, we had Karan Pollard was captain, but Darren Sammy was there, right? And it's his friggin' island, right? And also it's Darren Sammy. He wants to say stuff, but at a certain point you're like, maybe you should leave this one for the captain to speak. And you could see Darren Sammy trying to work that out, right? Like, is this the time I speak up, or is this not the time I speak up? I'm with you. Having said that, Rohit Sharma has never scored at over 150 in an IPL season, right? And you look at his batting, and you're like, especially the last few years, the way he's been batting in for India, there's no reason why he couldn't have gone at 160, 165. It feels like to me he bats a completely different way for Mumbai than he does for India, and it's almost like the impact sub hasn't impacted him.
Yeah, for some reason it hasn't impacted him. I think he likes it a little bit more risky, where you have only 11 players and then you can go after it. Funnily enough, his best numbers apparently in the IPL are at number 4. Interestingly, in the IPL, his best numbers are at number 4. So but like he's going to open now. I think he did. I think he called it wrong when he called time on his T20 career after the T20 the World Cup win. I think he should have still played. I think he should definitely play ODI and T20 cricket and maybe Test cricket. Maybe things have gotten a little less slow. He's not the keenest guy on fitness at this point in time, and so for him to get his reflexes up to scratch again would mean working on his fitness for a good 3 to 6 months. Now, how much motivation is there to do that at this age? We don't know. But if he does it, I'm sure he'll catch a second wind in Test cricket, probably even play for the next 2 or 3 years. But again, that's all on Rohit and depends on what he decides to do. But I think he's been an incredible captain. I really hope he comes to good form for Mumbai's sake.
I've got a question for you as a cricketer. You have played so many games, and I don't think amateurs understand this of like just how much cricket you play as a cricketer before you get to the top level, and then when you get to the top level. We've all had bad runs and things go wrong to us in amateur cricket, but in professional cricket, you almost forget those because so much happens, right? But being run out at the non-strikers end 2 games in a row when you haven't passed 10. It's like that is the sort of thing that as a cricketer you remember for a long time because you're like, Rahul Tewatia would have come into the season, he'd be fit, he'd be like, okay, this is my chance, I've got this role in this side. Yeah, he has got fitter, you're right. And he's like, okay.
Married, and then he got married last year, so I think it was the marriage weight.
He got fitter to look good in the photos. That is what Robbie is saying here. And you also look at it. I think now we could say he's no longer a leg spinner. Like for years there was that thing of, well, he's an all-rounder, and it's like he's not a leg spinner, guys. And now he's understood it. So he's like, I'm all about my batting. This is what I'm going to be. Let's start this season. And somehow he's run out at the non-strikers end twice in a row. Things like that have probably happened to you before, right? Like, sometimes you just go through a thing where you're just like, no matter what happens. I remember, was it Davey Warner in the, remember when Davey Warner was banned for sandpaper and he went to Canada and he kept finding ways to get out in Canada? And he must have been thinking to himself, this sport hates me. Like, I can't even make runs in Canada. And like, all these random things happen. And you watch Robin Uthappa, you watch Rahul Tewatia and you think to yourself, oh my God, like at a certain point, it gets in your head because next game, he might go out normally and now he's had 3 failures in a row, but he's actually really only had 1.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing, right? And that's the difference. So it's happened to me a few times in my career where I've been in some scorching hot form, come into a tournament feeling really confident. In the first 2 games, you get out, like it could be one bad decision, the other one a run out on the non-striker's end, and you're suddenly feeling like, oh my God, I'm scratching for form here. And suddenly you're like in your head, because cricket is such a confidence game, Kimbo. You just feel like if you feel confident about your game, you feel like I don't care who's bowling, I don't care if it's Brett Lee, I don't care if it's Sean Tate, I don't care if it's Shoaib Akhtar, I'm gonna walk out and smack him over his head. That's how you're feeling. If you're feeling confident about your game. Then the next day, if you haven't gotten a game, I remember I went to it was literally after my debut for India. 86 on debut, 12 in the next game. Next 4 games dropped, not playing. Last game of the series in West Indies, I'm playing. And we've lost the series 3-1 so far. And I've gone into bat. First ball, Wavell Hines is bowling to me. And I've edged one off to the keeper. And I'm back in the hut. First ball after fielding
for 50 overs. That demon fast bowler, Wavell Hines.
Wavell Hines, bro.
There are young people here who don't know how funny it is that you went out to Wavell Hines. But so let's just stop for a moment and remember how funny it is that you went out to Wavell Hines.
Oh, Wavell Hines. He was an out-and-out batter who bowled medium pace as a stopgap like option. Little dibbly-dobblies he'd bowl. And first ball, I get out him. Like, I can contend with as much pace as you can throw at me, right? You bring me a gentle dibbly-dobbly swing bowler, I'd be shaking in my boots, bro. That's genuinely, I'm like, how do you deal with the lack of pace? And then the first ball, you don't want to step out and try and hit and all of that, right? And then I got out and then got dropped from the Indian team. I had to score 1,000 runs again to make a comeback in domestic cricket, to make a comeback again in the Indian team. And it's such a confidence game. And actually happens like he must be feeling like $1 million before this tournament would have started. 2 runouts like this, and then a slim game, God forbid, a slim game in the next one. And he's like, shit, where has all that confidence just evaporated? Yeah. And that can happen.
There's one of my favorite lines. Yeah, one of my favorite lines in cricket ever was from Greg Chappell when I think he made 4 or 5 ducks in about 7 games. I think, and he made like a 12 as well, or like a 7. Like it was just he didn't make any runs, and he was asked about it, and he goes, "Yeah, I'm not in bad form. I just keep going out." And I've been thinking about that phrase. My grandfather told me that phrase when I was a kid. He used it as like a motivational thing of like, sometimes things just go against you and you have to get over it.
Yeah.
But I've always thought about that of like, there are times when it just doesn't work, right? We just have to be honest. It's not working. All right, let's pivot to something slightly different.
Strong pivot.
yeah, let's pivot away from you and Wavell Hines, who did bowl very well in Champions Trophy final once, believe it or not, and to you. That's the only two times he ever bowled well with those two things. The Saudi Arabia story. How much have you been following this? I was spending all week doing the audio version of my book, right? So just like speaking my book, like ignoring cricket news, going back on MV Play and watching the IPL games, but not watching them live or anything like that. Speaking my book in, and then one day I get a message from a friend going, have you heard the news that someone might be overthrowing the ICC? And I sent 3 text messages out. And for the next 24 hours, I was in this world of conspiracies, talking to these people. People are like, oh, you know, what about the Ambanis in the Olympics? I'm like, what about the Ambanis in the Olympics? What's that got to do with this? Someone else is like, there's a lot at play here when it comes to, different people, and there's Donald Trump and his tariffs. And I was like, how am I listening to the Olympics and Donald Trump and his tariffs? Like, there's so many conspiracies and wide things going on. But you as an outsider, just, not following cricket, politics in the same way, what did you think of the original story about Saudi Arabia, and then the follow-up of the Players Union coming out and basically going, we need to destroy the ICC? That's not quite what the Players Union said, but more or less.
Yeah. Well, something's brewing, right? If Saudi Arabia doing something, then they're going full tilt. So, I think cricket administrators around the world are taking note, to be very honest. And I feel like they actually, maybe a blessing to the cricket administrators who are running the show right now, that someone had a drunken night in Australia and just came out and said that there's a Saudi league that's coming out, that's happening. It wasn't supposed to come out for the next 6 months. The news of the league even happening was also supposed to come out only after 6 months.
I know there are some people who, I think that's how they're trying to sell it, Robbie. I think what actually was happening is they knew that I think someone involved with it knew that the report from the World Cricket Association was coming out. So I think it was leaked on purpose before that. But you're right. I think there are people who are working on this deal who are very unhappy that it came out at this stage, because there's nothing concrete at the moment. And
zero concrete.
I'm pretty sure that this is true. I think the Sovereign Wealth Fund, the Saudi Sovereign Wealth Fund, went on a tour of major cricket boards not that long ago and went around meeting a lot of them.
They did.
There we go.
I'm
and
aware.
So, yeah. And so that's what I spent a lot of the other day tracking which cricket boards they talked to and which ones they didn't. So it's hard. I even was talking to people in America to see if they'd gone and talked to the Americans. And there are some people told me they had, some people told me they hadn't. And it's like, it got so, I'm sure they've talked to people in America one way or another, whether that be the owners of the major league teams or someone else. But this is happening. But as you said, I don't even think anyone knows exactly what format this is going to take, because the Saudis want to be involved, but they also don't want to be in a situation where they're going up directly against the BCCI. But they also don't want to be in a situation where they're running all the crap stuff that is not the IPL, right? They don't want crumbs, and the BCCI don't want to give them a major chunk. But to go back to the thing we were talking about a minute ago, the Olympics, both of those countries are going to the Olympics at the same time, and the Ambani family are directly involved with trying to get the Olympics to India in 2036. 2036. That would be a long way ahead. Saudi Arabia also want that Olympics. So I've heard stories about the fact that there might even be like a bit of a trade between the two of how these things go. That's what I was saying before. When we were talking about high level stuff, that's the kind of stuff that I've been hearing about. Like it was funny. I was talking to one guy and he said to me, Jarrod, I know that you know all this about cricket, but this is so beyond cricket at this stage, the sort of conversations that these guys are having amongst themselves.
Yeah. Anything we speak about right now is conspiracy theory, right? And it's nothing more than that, right? And truly, I believe that cricket in general is at a very pivotal stage in its whole evolution. Conspiracy theory. Yeah, cricket is actually at a very pivotal stage in its evolution, and I think cricket should move towards the football ecosystem of being more club versus country right now, right? It'll be club cricket more, and then you play. And I think if ICC don't get ahead of this, then they could be threatened. in a big way, because then it'll be like a whole takeover. It could be a whole takeover, but if they actually get ahead of the curve, they can actually control the whole club ecosystem like FIFA does, and then have their own their tournaments that are there for the countries, and then focus on developing the game with smaller nations, which is what I genuinely think ICC should be doing. As far as they should actually utilize T10 cricket to do that. Man, I'm telling you, after playing T10 cricket, it is the simplest version of the game. It is like just all or nothing, right? Yes, it primes up for a lot of gray matter,
Mm.
as far as the dark side of cricket is concerned. But I think it's a great form to introduce nations to cricket. You can introduce it in Europe, in Eastern Europe, in the Americas, and that's how you develop the game. And that's how you
Mm.
get more talent. You make it a truly global game. Right now, it's not a global game. It's a 12, 15 nation game right now. And
Yeah.
still so rich, right? Imagine you make it global and what this can actually become. Like for me,
Yeah.
I'm sometimes just dumbfounded by the short-sightedness of certain administrators, like
It,
and who have been there for so long, right? I'm
Yeah.
not talking about the
Well,
new
that
guys,
was one
but
of
the
the
guys who've been there for
conversations I
so long.
had was like someone basically saying something along the lines of, if you look at how rich cricket is, how little money has actually flowed from it. Like we're talking about a $6 to $8 billion sport, but the players don't make, that
Oh
kind of money,
God, man,
right? Yeah.
let's not even go there. That's a
I could tell you,
conversation going.
if you're worried about the players, I can tell you the analysts, Speaky, are really ripped off. Not that I'm stepping up for
Yeah,
my brethren, but
yeah,
there's no money flowing through this game. And you look at the media situation, right? Like, I can tell you for a fact, Cricinfo and CricBuzz both have, what do they have between them? About 110 million users. Neither of them, there's no rich people working for Cricinfo when it comes to media, right? Like, there's not billions coming through those places. So the media, the players, even a lot of the administrators, and it's like, so the money hasn't really come out. And as you said, it's a global game, and you can make the argument that basketball or cricket is the second biggest sport in the world. It's probably cricket on numbers, but it's probably not
yeah.
cricket when you look at it from a global sort of a reach. Like,
Perspective.
there
Yeah,
are
yeah,
there are kids wearing basketball shirts right across the world, whereas
yeah.
I might be wearing the KKR today, but I'm not sure there are too many kids who are going to be walking around,
Wearing a
London
KKR
wearing
jersey.
cricket shirts right today.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's not global in that way. So it's interesting going ahead, where that really goes. But this is let's keep watching this, you and I, and see what we have. I've got the
Yeah,
tinfoil
it's going
hat
to be
if we
so
need it.
interesting. We'll need it. I'm telling you. I'm telling you, we'll need it because it's going to be so interesting. I really feel like ICC will be remiss if they don't get ahead of this. Because this, like, if you're going by everything that I've heard you say and everything that we're hearing, I feel like it could threaten. It could be something like what happened with the world championships, World Series in the 85s, in the 80s, 85s. When
78, 1978.
78 was it? It could be
Yep.
like that, and somehow they managed that, right?
Yeah, the thing is, I think Saudi Arabia doesn't want to go down that route because then now we are getting back to the politics. When they did it with golf, they were like, great, let's get all the best golfers in the world. And then what happens? They basically get the next 18 months, everyone telling them how much they don't care and that they don't like the golfers anymore, right? I don't think they want to spend all that money and then because they're doing this to get good PR, right?
Yeah,
So
sure.
I think that's why we've seen this tour of them going around talking to all these cricket boards. I think that's why they now own Foxtel in Australia. So they've got a partnership with Cricket Australia. They've got a partnership with the ICC. They've got a partnership with the BCCI. They've got a partnership with the Ambani family. I don't think they need to come from the outside.
I'll tell you what. I think Cricket Australia will be very interested in this whole thing, and they'll be driving their own agenda on this whole thing.
Always. I mean, they have
Yeah.
to, don't they?
Yeah,
Because you look,
because I
you look
don't
at the
think people are happy that BCCI are the top dogs in cricket today. I genuinely don't think people are.
I think
Um,
it's beyond that though. I think that was what was happening a couple of years ago. I think it's now that Cricket Australia isn't worried about BCCI being the top dog. They're worried about not being a dog at all. Right? Like when the big three takeover happened in 2014, 2015, they were at the table. are they at the table anymore, Cricket Australia? Right? Like, and the ECB, you could argue the same thing. They are not even at the table before. The big three has been disbanded, right? And so
Yeah.
if you don't have any say in the future, so I think you're right. I think there is, and I don't know how much it is the players or the actual board, but I think there's definitely a feeling in Australia of, wait a minute, how do we go from being the people who ran cricket to the people not even having a conversation? Right. And that, as I said, that partnership with, they've now got a couple of tentative partnerships with the Saudis themselves. In fact, this podcast might be the only podcast without a partnership with the Saudis. So if the, I don't know, if the Oman government or the Nepal government would like to sponsor our podcast, we are available for sponsorship from any other countries. All right, let's finish up with some memes. You're gonna have to explain some of these to me. I think I get some of them.
Oh
now,
my God.
All I remember is this was the show from Netflix. Is this is this pre wedding photos or after wedding photos?
No, this is post wedding photos. That's exactly how he looked last year, I beg your pardon. Also last night.
Yeah. So this is Robin Uthappa waiting for his season to begin. Robin Uthappa. I've said it twice for him.
Yeah,
Rahul, I've called him your name twice. Is this Rahul Tewatia waiting for his season to start?
Yeah, it's just him waiting either to start or to at least contribute on the field in some way besides fielding right now. Poor thing.
And it's the the meme is who is the drug dealer from Colombia who owned everything? It's that guy. That's
Narcos.
The meme, isn't
What's the name?
Yeah, Narcos. That's the one.
That's the series.
Yes,
Narcos is the series, right?
Where you have the guy who's sitting on the bench, and then he's standing in the swimming pool or whatever it is,
just waiting for something to happen.
Exactly. Perfect.
Just wait.
All right, we've got that meme. This is this Josh Butler? And
Josh
Rowan
Butler waiting for that short
Atkinson.
ball to come.
Oh my God! I want to ask you about this. You would know this, that when you bowl the back of the hand slower ball, the ball like gets stuck in your fingers, right? And occasionally, it's like, because it's basically a wrong one, right? And occasionally you drag it down. Do you remember Dwayne Pretorius did it in the 2021 T20 World Cup? I don't think he'd ever bowled it before. And he kept bowling it. And he kept bowling that delivery, but occasionally he'd get wickets off it. So I almost think at a certain point he was like, maybe I'll keep doing it. But that was, a lot of my friends were like, I don't know why Butler didn't hit that for 6. And I was like, guys, you don't practice for a ball hitting the ground and waiting 30 seconds to get to you.
I swear, dude, that's torture, I can tell you. As a batter, that's actually torture. To wait for the ball, and because you're creating, like, I'm going to go into technical aspects here on a meme. What the fuck am I doing? So basically, as a batter, you create inertia, right? And your initial movement. You're basically creating energy from the ground, right? Yep. And when you wait for a ball long enough, the energy goes back into the ground. And then you're suddenly using just your hands to flail at the ball, bro. So there's no way. It's very hard, and that's a big ground as well. So it's very hard to hit sixes on that ground.
I wonder how often. Yeah, I wonder how often anyone's ever talked about inertia while a picture of Mr. Bean is on the screen. And we should say also to our Zimbabwean fans that this is the real Mr. Bean, not the Pak Bean from Pakistan, who's also a legendary Mr. Bean as well.
Yeah, he's funny, right. Mr. Bean, man.
I don't get this meme, but I'm pretty sure this is Rohit Sharma and Ryan Wilkinson getting bowled by Siraj, but I don't understand the meme at all. So
DSP means he's basically a deputy superintendent in the police. He's a cop. Is Siraj? So he's got a job as a cop. So it's just a meme saying that I'm calling the shots here, and I've got you. Basically, that's essentially what it means. But those two were peaches of deliveries, bro. That was some gun deliveries. And that's what, finally, yesterday, after a long time, he was not trying to swing the ball away. He's generally a guy who delivers on seam, and then the ball shapes away on its own, but it shapes away little late. But when he tries to kind of swing the ball from his hand, like bowl away from his with his wrist, it starts swinging too early, and then he loses that ball pitching and seaming back in. But when he delivers normally, it starts shaping away late and then pitches and seams back in, and that's just enough time. It's just late enough to get batters out like Rohit yesterday. He did that after a really long time.
I love that. Again, I didn't realize you were bringing the memes on so you could tell us about technical stuff, but apparently you are. This one is Hardik Pandya. being environmentalist, waiting for him to score some boundaries. I think isn't there another one on him as
No, so
well?
the environmentalist is basically, you know what it is, right? The
Okay.
environmentalist is basically every time you bowl a dot ball in the IPL, they plant a couple of trees,
The
right?
tree. My son, my son Eek, he every time he goes, what? I don't understand. It's why is like sometimes I look at it, it's a tree, and sometimes it's a dot ball. And he's
Yeah, it's a
like
green
he's
dot.
just learning about cricket, and he's like, what does the tree represent? And I'm like, I think it's a sponsor, mate.
Yeah, it is a sponsor, and so every time the dot ball is bowled, you basically plant a couple of trees or something.
Well,
But
he
this is
saved the
fun.
rainforest of recent
He
times,
did.
hasn't he?
Yes.
We got another Mohammad Siraj one here. Rohit Sharma is ineffective against the new ball. I'm assuming I didn't hear Siraj say this, so I'm assuming that someone's had a bit of fun here.
Yeah, they just basically having a little bit of fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so far this year, they might be
Yeah.
right.
So far,
And
there you
is
go.
this the one?
Best friends batting like each other. Right?
This is someone sent me this as well, and they were saying if you look at this, like the techniques on MS Dhoni and Hardik Pandya is better than some of the defense we see in Test cricket now.
Yeah. No shit.
And
It's
you see
like,
this, and you're like, fair enough.
yeah, man, and like I don't understand this. Isn't well, okay, I understand it from Rohit. He still came in when there were like 6-7 overs to go. MS is coming with 2 overs to go, and then the first couple of balls he's defended it. But you know that he's going to do that, and you know that in the last over he's going to go hard against the spinner or whoever's bowling. He can do that an over earlier, in my view. But yeah, as in these guys have been brothers in arms literally this season so far.
One thing I always say, there was one ball that Hardik Pandya faced off Saik Shaw, where they needed 16 runs and over by that stage. And Saik Shaw was like, it wasn't a good wicket for spin. It was a really good wicket for pace, right? He was the weak link. And the
Yeah.
last ball, the over, Hardik Pandya just turns it to the leg side for one. And I'm sitting there going, that is a shot you play in the 23rd over of an ODI when you just want to get down the other end and face the other guy. Like, what on... Just play... Anyway, I know we're talking about memes and we've gone technical again. We've got another one here. A lot of these are from the cricket shit posts in Reddit as well, so they're doing some fine work.
These guys are good.
It's the second over of Mumbai Indians batting, and it's Rohit Sharma on the bench. It's not gone well for him so far.
No, not at all. Poor thing. Especially after the Champions Trophy one, everyone who supports Rohit Sharma is thinking, oh, he's going to come and kill it in the IPL. And that's exactly what I said. He's going to come and kill it in the IPL. But as per norm with Mumbai Indians, they've started poorly.
All right, I don't know what this one is. So that's Tilak Varma coming off the field.
Why should coach have all the fun? Oh man, these memes are quite unforgiving sometimes. I think it was just one of those days where Tilak wasn't hitting it well. As in, he was trying, but it wasn't going. It was just one of those days. You can have that. But I wouldn't mind having him in the Test squad. He'd make a good inclusion in the Test squad. I like him.
You can't just put him in the Test squad now. You've gone too far ahead. We've got Shardul Thakur. His aura is simply unmatched. Is the top of it. If they come hard at the bowlers, why don't bowlers go hard at them? He is like he's a one-man meme, isn't he? He really is a one-man meme.
I love him. He's so good. He is so good, and I felt so bad for him, dude, when he didn't get the. When he didn't make the auction this time, and he didn't make the cut this time, I'm like, dude, it's just such an unfair system. But it's true. His aura is simply unmatched. He is, dude. He is something.
Do you know him well?
Yeah,
do you know him well?
Very well. Yeah.
I feel like he's the sort of person I could never be friends with, right? But
What
I
do you
would like
say?
to be at a dinner. No. Listen to me. But I would like to be at a dinner table with him. Does that make sense? I just feel like he would say so many things, and I'd be in the corner shaking my head, going, dude, what? But he'd be so much fun, I'd still want to be at the table. Do you know what I mean? Like, I want to hear what he's saying, even if I disagree with him, because I just think he's the sort of guy who's going to say everything.
Who you're actually talking about is Srishant. But Shardul is a very...
I've spent, mate, one day, I spent 2 days with Srishant at his house.
No.
And
No
it was...
way!
Dude, it was one of the weirdest situations. I will one day tell you the story of Sri Sant, the large tool, and saving his dog's paw, which is maybe the most Sri Sant story of all time. I'll just
Yeah.
give you my favorite thing is, do you remember like a lot of the controversy around the over was the towel, right?
Yeah.
And when I went to his house to clean my hands, he had like all of his official towels as the hand towels. And I was like, if I was in a conspiracy that involved my towels, I would have no towels in my house. Not literally the same towels that I had got in trouble for. Anyway, we'll talk about Sri Sant another day when there is a bunch of cricket to talk about. One comes to play for 3 balls. The other one to last for 3 balls. And Kohli comes to play all the balls. Oh, okay. Yeah. As you said again, some of our this is the Virat fans going nuts. And we've got another.
I like how we quickly went through the Virat meme.
Do you want to go back? We can go back to
No,
Virat.
I don't want to go back. No. It's gone. I've had more than enough issues by talking about Virat in the recent past.
And this one is Hardik Pandya looking at pictures of MS Dhoni and deciding he wants to bat like him. I'm assuming.
Yeah, it's literally that. Yeah, it's like him.
All right.
Yeah, basically, this guy is someone who. It's a movie. It's a movie sequence where he's a big fan of a big actor. And he basically follows him, and so basically the saying Pandya is like, who he's his biggest fan
of. Beautiful. All right, and then we got one that's a video. Let's see if I can play this. He says optimistically. So this is MS Dhoni not coming out to bat.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Is that just a random white guy getting his massage on the street?
Yeah. But I think the whole point of the meme is like, Tala is just sitting there doing nothing, getting a massage. You might as well be getting a massage at that point in time when 6 wickets are down and you need 15 plus and over.
Thank you. If you guys have memes that you want to send us through,
yes, please. That'd be awesome.
No, don't ever. Because Robbie's too excited at the memes. But please do tag us through. This is the first show. We'll be back. We have no idea because Robbie's schedule is ridiculous at the moment.
We're figuring
we'll be back quite regularly anyway. I say regularly. We'll be back irregularly, if that makes sense. But thank you very much for listening all the way through. This show is going to be on all of our platforms. So obviously Robbie's got his new YouTube. If you're not subscribed over there, do that. We're going to put this on both of our YouTube pages for the first couple of times so that you can find it on ours, on the Good Areas YouTube. But eventually, we'll probably put it on the live channel. We will move to live. We've pre-recorded this one. But eventually, we will move to lives. We weren't 100% sure that the Wi-Fi would work and that everything would go correctly. So we just wanted to make sure that we got it down. But we'll work all that stuff out. But please, subscribe to all of our different things. Tell everyone that you know that this is the new cricket podcast that you have to listen to. And we will see you again next time on our irregular days.
Yes. See you guys.